There are quite a lot of people in the carnivore community who say that you don't need supplements while you're on a carnivore diet. And then some of us have had a different experience. I've had a comment just recently where I was told, once again, to listen to the carnivore doctors because they're saying we don't need whatever. And so today I'm talking about supplements. I'm talking about whether we should believe everything the carnivore doctors say and maybe some other stuff. Hi there, my name is Sue. Welcome to my channel. So today, as I said, I'm talking about supplements on carnivore. I'm talking about the carnivore doctors and whether we should be believing everything that they say. And so let's get started. Now, I did a video a little while back and I had a couple of comments on that video from the same guy. So I'll put them up here on the video. So the first one says, this person said, bro science. I don't even know what that means, bro science. Is that a slang term? I don't know what that means. In these posts are real. Bro science in these posts are real. Yeah, there's no full stops or anything there, so I'm not really sure what that means. Listen to an actual doctor like Chafee, Ken, or Sean. We are not supplementivores, and we don't need supplements. Beef and water is all. Okay, so that was one comment, and then he or she, I think it's a he by the sounds of him, put another comment on that says, Dr. Chafee strongly disagrees. Don't do, please. Plants are poison, not medicine. Meat is all you need. Okay, let's break that down and have a little chat about that. So when it comes to supplements, my thoughts are that for people who come onto carnivore, they're eating meat, they feel great and live happily ever after, then yeah, maybe they don't need supplements. Okay, but happily ever after can be a bloody long time, and there's not a lot of people who've been doing this for a bloody long time to actually find out. Okay, and so I'm going to go into a little bit of that with someone in particular who has been eating this way a long time and is finding things aren't quite as cut and dried as they thought that they were, perhaps. But that's for later. So when people come onto the carnivore diet, as I said, if they're doing great, then they might not need any supplements. And while you're doing great, just keep going. Eat the meat and the water and the salt and just do your thing as long as everything's fine. But for some of us, we come onto carnivore and we feel better and some things start healing, but there's a whole lot of other things that aren't, that maybe need help. So my thinking with all of this is that some people, if they need to heal, so when people come onto a carnivore diet, if they've got a lot going on in their body, especially if they're older and there's a lot that needs to heal, if you're eating, your meat and everything, it's got fantastic nutrition, your body, when it's trying to heal a lot of stuff, is going to be using a lot more nutrition. Okay, so especially if you are someone who can't eat enough, there may not be enough nutrients there for your body to be able to do everything it needs to do. And so in that case, because when a lot of people are talking about supplements, they're talking about vitamins and minerals. Now, I don't generally think that vitamins and minerals are needed, especially as a multi. I think multivitamins are actually possibly quite dangerous, especially if they've got iron and copper in them, because you can end up with too much iron. That's really quite common. But you might need something in particular. So, for example, I was taking vitamin B1 in the form of benfotiamine for quite a while and found it helpful. I'm not taking it anymore, but I was. Over the 3 years that I've been on the carnivore diet, I've used electrolytes. So electrolytes are a really common supplement that a lot of people take initially. I don't know that there should be a need for them long term. They've been sold as something, that people use when they're exercising and stuff. And I don't know that that's necessary. But magnesium and salt are probably the two of those electrolytes that most people probably need to continue with, perhaps. Some people seem to do quite well without salt, but magnesium we burn through magnesium with stress levels and things that we're exposed to in this modern world, driving in traffic, dealing with customers, all of these things that, wouldn't have had to deal with when, several hundred years ago or thousands of years ago. But now we have this chronic kind of ongoing stress, and so magnesium is something that most people probably need. Now, other things that I've taken throughout my journey, I'll back up a bit. When I first started on the carnivore diet, I thought, right, I'm going to stop all my supplements because I've been listening to what people were saying about it. I'm going to stop all my supplements and everything's going to be amazing. I stopped all my supplements and everything turned to shit, literally. I did feel better, but my chronic diarrhea, I had mold illness, and I had SIBO, and had diarrhea issues all my adult life, basically. And that chronic diarrhea got way worse. So it wasn't long before I kind of realised that, hey, I need to bring some of the things that I was taking back in. So charcoal was one of those, activated charcoal. I still take that off and on. Slippery elm was another, and I still take that off and on because sometimes things will just upset my gut. Still doesn't take much to upset it. I've used chlorella to get rid of mold out of my body. I've used motility supplements to help with the SIBO and get my small intestine working properly. I've used Tudka. I took Tudka for a long time, probably a year or 18 months, to help my liver and gallbladder to heal, and milk thistle. I have taken ginger. I still take ginger. I have ginger tea often. And more recently, I've taken things like NMN. So NMN, I've done a couple of videos talking about that. I use this brand Hair Particular supplements. They're fantastic. They're clean. They don't have any encapsulating aids or anything in them. They're made in the USA. Third-party tested, really good company. I'll put a link to their products below the video, and my code, I think, is Carnivore15. I'll put it down below. It'll give you 15% off your order. They are a really good brand of supplements. I really like them. I only promote things that I really like on my channel. And this NMN, I did videos about it. I didn't plan to take it. They offered me the opportunity to try it, and it changed my bowel just like really quickly and made things way better. So I'm still taking that. I'm also taking currently their resveratrol to help to lower my ferritin levels because my ferritin was way too high. I've got a couple of videos recently talking about that. I'll link to those below if you want to check those out. So I'm taking the resveratrol, and I'm also taking TMG because I have methylation issues. So there's some of the supplements that I have taken over the last 3.5 years and what I'm still currently taking now. Supplements, the word supplements kind of covers everything from vitamins and minerals, as I spoke about, to herbs and things like that. So if you are taking something, my advice is that if you're taking something is to have a look on the ingredient list. So you'll always, on supplements, when you're looking at them online or on the packaging, you'll have the breakdown of what's in them, and then underneath they'll have other. And when you look at that, you can see whether they've got encapsulating aids in them. I came across a brand just recently that didn't even say what the encapsulating aids was. It just said encapsulating aids. Not keen on that at all. But they'll often have things like maltodextrin and rice or magnesium stearate, things like that in them. And so I now these days avoid any supplements that contain anything like that because a lot of those encapsulating aids are actually damaging your gut and your gut lining and contributing or causing leaky gut. So do your best to make sure that your supplements, if you're going to take something, don't contain any of those encapsulating aids. So always look at the labels and have a look and see what's actually in them. So as I said at the beginning, the comments that I had from that person about, not being supplementivores and to listen to the doctors, kind of is something I wanted to talk about. So I get a lot of comments on my videos and on my posts on different things, saying, have you listened to this doctor or that doctor or whatever? And I do. I listen to the carnivore doctors. I love them. I love what they do. But they're only human. They're not gods. They're not the holders of all knowledge. And something that I have become really aware of over the last 5 years in particular is the problems around idolatry. So we have been kind of brainwashed, society's been brainwashed into believing that doctors are somehow smarter and better than the rest of us. So this is a thing, you know, and this is why the doctors' channels, the carnivore doctors' channels, are so huge, because people go, oh, they're a doctor, you know, they know what they're talking about. I'm going to listen to them. Everything they say must be true, right? So, you know, as I said, I like their information. They're doing a great job, and I love that there are doctors in this space, because it gives people somewhere, those people who believe that everything has to come from the medical fraternity, it gives them somewhere to go to listen to someone that they believe is legit, I guess. But you know, as I said, they are only human. Like the doctors, these doctors that are in the carnivore community, they once upon a time were brainwashed into that whole mainstream medical system, and they trained in that, believing that that was the way to go. And then they learned through their own experience that it wasn't, you know. And so now they've gone through that system and gone through that training where they've had no nutritional training, or very, very little. And now they've come out looking for answers for something else, ended up in this carnivore community. And so they are learning, like the rest of us, what works and what doesn't. And, you know, as I alluded to at the beginning, there are very few long-term carnivores that are speaking in this space. You know, most are, you know, 4 or 5 years at the most, 6 years. A lot of them are young. There's not a lot of older carnivores in this space. And so there's kind of a lack of experience so far. All right. So you've got people like the Canadian rancher lady, I can't think of what her name is, that Dr. Chafee went to see, Maggie. I mean, she's been eating a mostly meat diet most of her life and is in amazing condition. She's been living a very different lifestyle to most of us, and eating very different meat, because she wasn't eating her cattle that she was growing. She was out there hunting deer and eating wild meat, so and salmon out of the river. So that's a very different lifestyle and a very different diet to what most of us are eating still. All right. So, and even though she's eaten, you know, mostly meat, you probably find that there's been some plants in there here and there, because she lived a fairly poor existence from what I can gather, listening to her interviews when she was younger, you know, and so food choices weren't always there. They had to kind of eat what they could find. And she said she's eaten some pretty rotten meat over the years. And that's the way things would have been, you know, in the past for people. So within that whole doctor space, there's a few things I want to talk about within the carnivore doctors, just to kind of get my point across. So for example, Dr. Berry. So Dr. Berry, love him to bits, but he can be very black and white with things. All right. So he has admitted that he caused a lot of problems for a lot of patients before he became keto and then carnivore, because he was telling them to do what he had been taught through his education. But even now, I mean, he's got two shorts up that I have seen in the last few months, one about coffee enemas and one about black seed oil. He obviously knows nothing about those things. He has an opinion on them, and that's what he has provided in those short videos. Because the coffee enemas, he's basically saying, waste of time, why would you even do it? When coffee enemas can actually be really beneficial for a lot of people with serious health issues and gallbladder issues, you know, liver issues and that sort of thing. And black seed oil has been used for thousands of years. It is amazing stuff. I always have some in the house. I'm taking it. That's one of the things I'm taking at the moment, taking it daily. It has amazing benefits for immunity, everything. Like, you can use it topically for skin. It is fantastic stuff. And yet Dr. Berry sat there on this video and said, you know, why would you take it? You can take it if you want, but it's not going to do anything. He is completely dead wrong there. But people will watch that video and believe him because he's a doctor. Dr. Chafee has this very black and white blinkered view of plants. You know, you just need meat and no plants, and humans didn't used to eat plants and they only ate meat, you know, and that is really just to throw, as I said, to throw the herbs out, to throw the medicine out. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Some of us need some of those things. I mean, I've heard Dr. Chafee say just eat meat and your bowel flora will sort itself out. No, it doesn't. Didn't work for me, doesn't work for other people. I've got people on my channel who have been eating carnivore diets for a long time. I mean, I had someone just recently who commented, and I'll pop this one up. I'll just find it. And this is just one example. Okay, so they have said, hang on, just waiting for my computer to do its thing. Come on. A little bit slow. So it says, I've been on the carnivore diet for 6 years. Overall, it's been a positive experience. I feel significantly better and in many ways like I've aged in reverse. That said, my one persistent issue is chronic constipation, often with overflow. I've tried everything to resolve it, but so far nothing has worked fully. These days, I manage it by drinking magnesium citrate every second night. Despite this ongoing problem, I remain grateful to be on carnivore. The improvements in my overall health have been remarkable, but the bowel issue continues. The overflow can sometimes catch me off guard. Even when I'm out with friends, it's manageable, but it's also embarrassing. So this is someone 6 years on carnivore, their bowel hasn't resolved. Okay, so I've had others as well where they've been fine. I had someone comment just recently, they've been on carnivore for 7 years, been fantastic. All of a sudden, they've got bowel issues and other things going on, chronic diarrhea, just kind of kicked off for no reason. So when you listen to, for example, what's her name? Ridderford. I'll put the name up on the Mary Ridderford. Mary. she's a nutritionist, and I'll put the name up on the screen. She's a nutritionist, and she works with a lot of really chronically ill people, and she has really learned a lot about the microbiome, and she has a concern about carnivore when it's meat only, because she from her point of view, what she sees is that people are potentially destroying and completely eliminating the microbiome that they were born with if they're eating meat only and not eating any plants. So, for myself, I eat fermented plants. I don't necessarily eat them every day, but I do have a little bit of kimchi, sauerkraut, that sort of thing. And I've done periods of time without that, but I do better with it. So that's why I keep it in my diet. And yeah, she's Mary Rutherford. Rutherford. I'm trying to think of the name. It's bugging me. But anyway, Rutherford, something like that. Her concern is that people are actually wiping out that microbiome that they're born with. So that's something to consider. And then the other one is Dr. Sivas, for example. He's just been on Dr. Berry's channel just recently. He's finding with some of his patients that they're ending up with basically insulin suppression over time on carnivore. Now, this is quite a contentious subject. I've seen people discussing it online, people saying that it's BS, but he was on Dr. Berry's channel. I could see Dr. Berry struggling with kind of what he was saying, because it kind of goes against what they've been teaching and telling people. But what he's saying is that he has many patients now, because he works with a lot of people around the world, who have been on carnivore for a period of time. They are lean, they are exercising, and they're starting to have problems. They're having problems with their thyroid and testosterone, like Paul Saladino did. And by introducing a little bit of carbohydrate, just kind of adding a little bit in there, then that gradually corrects that. And it's because the insulin is being suppressed, is not being used, and so it starts to become a problem. So this might depend on genetics. I mean, it might, like he said, it's people who are lean and doing a lot of exercise. It may be a specific, body type that's happening to, but that seems to be a thing. The other thing that I was going to mention is I watched a video with Dr. Lisa Wiedemann the other day, and so she's one of the long-time carnivores, right? She's a bit older, and she's going through menopause, and she was saying that what she's found, so she's been on carnivore for a lot of years, and then she hit menopause and she started gaining weight. And so now she's doing a really super low-fat carnivore diet, which I hope she doesn't stick with that low for too long, because she's probably going to mess things up if she does, from my understanding. But she's doing a super low carnivore diet to get rid of the weight that she's started gaining. And so this is what I mean, is you've got a lot of these carnivores who are either male or they are younger, and the people that are online. And it seems that for some of us, especially some of us who are older, the older women, the things that they're telling us don't work, or not the way that they've worked for them. And so sometimes we need supplements. Sometimes we need to do something different with our diet, like I am at the moment, eating a lower fat carnivore diet, because I've realized that when I eat too much fat, it's making me more insulin resistant. Now, when I first spoke about this online, I copped a whole lot of backlash in the comments, because people were like, fat doesn't affect blood glucose and stuff. It does. And I'm not the only one that this happens to. So I'm going to be talking more about this going forward. But, so there's all of this information that's being put out there. And as I said, it's all an experiment. The part of the problem that I see is that there's a misunderstanding of our ancestors and what they ate. Like Dr. Chafee, he talks a lot about, through the Ice Age, and, how people just ate meat and they didn't have access to plants and blah, 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 blah. We have no comprehension of the way that those people lived back then, and what they understand and what they knew and where they found their food. For a start, as I've said, I've commented numerous times on some of his videos, saying that those people in those regions ate the chyme out of the stomach of the animals that they caught, or killed, for eating. So, like reindeer, they eat the reindeer are finding plants. The reindeer are finding plants to eat. It's in their stomach, and then they're eating that. And so they are eating some plants, even if they're partially digested, fermented, basically. So, I've heard others talking about, there's no carbohydrates in the wild, and yet when you look at the Australian Aboriginals and the things that they eat, some of the Aboriginals were still living very traditional lives up until fairly recently, like even in the 90s. Didn't speak any English, they were still living where they always had, the way that they had. They consume insects, and they consume there are wild fruits in Australia, even in those outback regions. And there are other plants, roots and things that they eat, and they always have. And I mean, the Aboriginal are supposedly one of the oldest races on the planet, like human beings. They've been there for a really long time. So while they eat a lot of animal, meat and seafood and that sort of thing, they also eat these plants. They eat bunya nuts. They go to the Bunya Mountains, where I used to live. They would go every 2 or 3 years with the bunya nuts full, and they would have ceremonies and they would consume the bunya nuts. So to this whole thing about humans, there have been humans in the past who only ate meat for generations, is just, I think that there is a lot of misinformation. So I've gone on this whole big tangent from supplements to all of this, but these are things that have kind of been on my mind for a little bit that I wanted to talk about, and I was going to do separate videos about them, but I've ended up putting it into one video. So as I started off with, do you need supplements on the carnivore diet? It depends. It really depends on what's going on in your body individually, what you're needing to heal, what your version of the carnivore diet is, because there are obviously healthier carnivore diets and less healthy. For some people, if money's not an issue, you can be buying the best of everything, and grass-fed, organic, the good quality wild caught fish, all of this stuff. Whereas for someone else, their version of the carnivore diet might be going to the deli and getting hot dogs, or deli meats and things and stuff out of cans and what have you. So there are differences in different people's versions of the carnivore diet, especially initially when people don't really understand what they're doing. And, they're just thinking, well, as long as it's meat, I can eat it, not understanding the difference between what they're eating and something else. So there may be deficiencies there, or if their body's healing and needing more. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I think that was all that I wanted to say. If you've got any comments or questions, pop those below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. As I said, I love the carnivore doctors. I love that they're in this community. I love what they're doing, the information that they provide. But my thoughts with this is, just don't don't believe everything someone tells you, whether they're a doctor or not. Have some discernment. Learn about things for yourself. Think think about the way that humans would have actually lived in the past, and the things that they understood about this world and this planet and where to find food that we've got no idea about. They just they were so much more in connection with nature than we are, and we have been dumbed down and just completely changed over generations, from where those people were that we have originated from. Hopefully we might get back there one day and have more understanding of our connection to everything else. And so I won't go off on that tangent. So that's it. As I said, comments or questions below. Make sure to subscribe, like this video if you've enjoyed it, got anything out of it. That helps my videos to be seen by more people. And if you're interested in trying the supplements, check out my link below. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you again another day. Bye for now.